Hey everybody, welcome to book club tonight. I am so excited to talk about this chapter. This book is just incredible. And isn't it awesome how I'm sure you guys all have this, but how you sometimes just have conversations about specific things. I got a sweet text from a friend today that was like, we just talked about this. And but you guys, how appropriate is all of this? I love this book. I actually already told a sweet young friend of mine. She's actually my CrossFit coach. And she's young. She's like 25 and just trying to figure out life. And I said, I have a book for you. And as I was like underlining every single sentence in my page, I'm like, I might just buy it for her because I don't want her to take mine because it's so marked up with stars and exclamation points. And, I've written into some different spots, but yeah, Sal, right? Like this is something that is just vital. And I love that she's a positivity coach, basically. And you guys, resilience is, it's something I guess I didn't really know. I don't know if I really understood the word. I mean, I do now, and I guess I have understood this word just because I've heard it a lot lately. But I'm sure you guys have all were reading through this chapter tonight and just reflecting on yourself and your life and just the different things that you've gone throughout your life, places that you are right now. And maybe you've been asking yourself that question, like, am I resilient? So I really hope that this chapter gave you some tips. I don't know how you couldn't pull some really great advice out of this because this is life right here. And I don't want to spend a terrible amount of time talking because you guys, it's a short chapter really, but I literally underlined absolutely everything. So I had a really hard time deciding how to narrow this down. But first of all, when I read the title, Be Prepared for Battle, I just thought of the song, The Battle Belongs to the Lord. If you think about that, I just feel like that's really what this is. I do believe everyone on this call is a believer. And I just think so strongly that if your hope is found in Christ, then you are going to have a different kind of resilience because your hope and faith is in him and he is our future. And so we don't have anything to fear. Not to say that those things can't happen and that hard times are not going to come and may not derail. They may make us feel like we've been derailed from life, but we have that solid rock. And we know that when hard things come, that we're not alone in that. God knows exactly what's going on. Right now, God knows exactly what's going on in your life, in your heart. It's just everything. And so we don't have to fear that, but our humanness gets in the way. And so it's really, really important for us to stay grounded in the word and in him. And thanks be to God for that, right? He gives us the resilience that we have and can have. But we do have to do work ourselves too because of our humanness and because of sin and and because our thoughts are not always perfect and in line with God. So I just love that she started off with be prepared for battle because we are going to have obstacles come, right? And I believe, we could talk about life, of course, but just think about, just our business, because that's what this is, right? It's a book club. We want to talk about our business. We've all had obstacles, right? Um, and it would be silly for us to go into anything thinking that, oh, this is just going to be easy and everybody's going to say yes, and it's not going to be a big deal. You have to prepare yourself. And she does specifically talk about that. I think actually, literally the last thing that I wrote down before I logged in was from page 136. She talks about why must you increase your resilience? And she talks about people who are naturally resilient and how they can sometimes appear as though they face fewer challenges. And it's not necessarily that, it's just that they've prepared themselves. And she likes to call it realistic optimism. Okay. We know that we need to try to be optimistic, and that optimism, that positive thinking. And she talks a lot about that. So I don't want to spend a ton of time talking about that. I want to hear what you guys think, because it's very, very good. But how we think, we know, we've read how many books, we've talked about this over and over and over again. How you think is going to affect everything. And that situation she explained about the financial, disaster that could come about, where you lost everything. There's one way of thinking, and then there's another way of thinking. And one way makes you feel pretty hopeless. The negative way of thinking that's just it. It's negative. It's like, there's no hope. How are we going to recover? This is awful. And you can just go down that rabbit trail for just further and further and deeper and deeper. Or you can think positively, and you can think, okay, yes, this is bad, but what are we going to do in spite of this? Or what are we going to do instead of this? And what are we going to do to get ourselves out of this situation? And that's really what a realistic optimism is. It's making sure that you are realistic, you stay positive, you have hope for the future and for things that are coming, the things that you're doing and your goals, but you're realistic too, knowing that there's going to be some things that are going to sidetrack you. There's going to be things that are going to throw you off, because this isn't a perfect world. And it's silly for us to think that we're never going to have any kind of adversity come our way. We have to be prepared for that. And not that you should get stuck in that, because like Tova talked about that on Monday too. Like you have to recognize that things are going to happen, but you can't wallow in the puddle. You can't stay stuck in those things. You can recognize those thoughts, those situations, because they're real. Real things happen, hard things happen. But we have to also think beyond that, and we have to think of how we're going to get past that. So, resilience it's the ability to bounce back from adversity, challenges, and change. It's being prepared for the inevitable battles that will come, So as long as you are focusing on focusing on the positive, not complaining, not getting stuck on the scary things and the hard things, but focusing on the positive, but just being realistic about, this is just life. Life is hard, and I know as my kids have gotten older, I've been able to have a lot more realistic conversations, life conversations with them, because my girls at least are starting to see real life things, even from their surroundings, from their environment, which she also talks about in here. And I have had a lot of conversations lately with them about who your support system is. Who are you surrounding yourself with? What are you letting in to your mind, to your hearts, to it, just all of it. And sometimes you can't say affect, that's the wrong word. You can't, that's the wrong word. I can't think of the word I was going to say, but you can't have control over what your environment is. Sometimes it's people in your circle. And then we have to have a whole other conversation about that, which I have had with family members. And sometimes it takes years to change those circumstances. And to sometimes, we talk about too, I don't know which books this is from, but sometimes you end up growing and you outgrow the people that you're around, because you have shown resilience, you stay positive, you don't allow the negativity in, you flip the script when there is negative things. And sometimes those people don't really like that, because they like to stay in the pit. They like to stay in the puddle. And you may find that circle may not be the place that you want to be. So, but it is really important for you to surround yourself with the right people, and to be listening to the right things, and to just be having those good thought processes. Yeah, I don't know, guys. I could go on and on and on about this, but I really want you guys to share your thoughts, share situations. I mean, I had so many things pop up in my mind, even just things that Kevin and I have been a part of over the years that, just speak a lot to this. And so, but I really want you guys to share your takeaways and the things that really struck you in this chapter.
Oh, so much. Where to begin? This was the greatest chapter, but I guess the first thing that really hit me the biggest was on page 136. And I mean, it's like everything is underlined. It's the big thing that I took from that is don't pull myself or to pull myself from the negative thoughts into the light so that we can change them. We can all, we're gonna, like she said, we're gonna have hard times, but it depends on our mindset, on what we do with it. If we pull it into the light, it's very scriptural. If we want to stay in darkness, that's what's going to happen. But you take it to the light, and then that darkness disappears because it's in the shadow. And so it is very much a choice in living in the negative or choosing the positive. And the positive is so much better and makes so much difference. And then it makes such a difference in like, okay, so our customers, in how if we deal with them positively, they're going to have a way different come back to us. But if we deal with it in a negative manner, it's probably not going to be so pretty, and we'll probably lose them. We may lose them anyways, but some things, like she said, is out of our control. So we may lose them anyways, but to deal with it in the positive way is huge.
Yep. So good, Vicki. I love that you said that it's a choice. I underlined that whole page too. You have the power, she says. You have the power to change how you feel. It's a lot of power.
I had two things a lot of things that really hit me, but I want to mention two on 136 as well. Uh, when she talked about you need resilience to live well, to succeed, to keep disappointments, anger, and exhaustion from derailing your best plans. Next line, resilience is a way of living. It is a lifestyle. Whew, that was a biggie for me. But when you think about it, like I know somebody really well that when we first moved to Michigan, probably within the first 5 or 6 years, she lost her mom, she lost her husband, her son was in a major car accident. And there, I think was one more thing, all within a matter of a couple years. And she was the epitome of resilience. I mean, obviously she had feelings and she was sad and she grieved, but she was so steady. But yet, I mean, it was real. Like she cried, but you could tell she had a life of resilience in her core. And I just remember thinking, and people saying to her too, like, what next and how, and our human nature asks all these questions, but her faith was so strong and is so strong that, I mean, she just totally surrendered to God's plan, totally. And it was just inspiring, almost heartbreaking at the same time, because you're just like, wow, this woman is so strong, but yet has had so much. And that's what I thought of when it said resilience is a way of living. And then the next phrase that I absolutely loved was towards the end of the chapter. Optimism is a predictor of success. I was like, ooh, I like that. Because if we think of, and not even in Plexus, but anybody in life that you look at and you think, oh, that's a successful person. Just think about them. Are they negative people? Are very many of them negative people? Or are more of them positive people? People that try hard, that have grit, that, perseverance, and have usually a positive attitude and push through. So loved that.
So good, Janelle. Thank you for sharing that story. I love to hear like real life stories, about resiliency too, because that is inspiring. So I love this chapter too. And Eric and I have had so many, this vacation that we're on this week with just our boys, it's just the four of us. We've had so many good talks with our boys about, Chris, kind of what you said, but one of them was talking about, we didn't really talk about resiliency, but I think it ties in because the boys went golfing. Emmett was a little upset because he didn't shoot like he can shoot, and I'm quitting. And when you're 15, that's just what you think about, right? And so we were talking about failing, and like he would have a bad shot and then he just let it ruin the rest of the game, right? Where really you have one bad shot, you can recover, Emmett. You can, overcome that and have a good round. But because he'd get in his head, he would struggle a little bit. And in golf is definitely a mental game, but so much of life is mental, right? Is a mental. So we had a choice. We talked about that, and failure is feedback, I said to him. And that one bad shot, why was it bad? So we just talked through that. Anyway, we've just had great talks with our boys. And so this chapter kind of reminded me of that a little bit, about being resilient and in the same place. And I love that we can help our kids. Us learning this is helping, our family members and people around us be resilient too, right? And so I love that we can pass that along to our kids and all of that. But she wrote on 142, women have to be prepared for battle. And when I first read that, I was like, I thought the same thing Chris did. And then I thought armor, and you have to go to war and you have to go to battle. And what are you going to wear? You're going to put on the armor. And I love that scripture, put on the armor of God and the breastplate, and all of that. And I'm just like, we have to remember to suit up every morning, right? And be ready for battle, because things are coming our way. God knows what's coming. We don't, but he's given us the tools and the armor and the equipment or whatever to be able to fight and go to war, right? And so just remember, in the morning, you guys suit up, right? Put on that armor, because that's what makes us resilient too. And knowing, like I highlighted the whole paragraph on 132, what is resilience? And it can only be tested in the face of challenges. The woman who never accepts a challenge never knows how resilient she is. So we want those challenges, right? They're going to come our way. Accept it, face it, anticipate it, and know that you're suited up, you've got the armor on, and you're going to learn from it. And it's going to make you stronger, and you're going to be more resilient because of it. So just wanted to share my thoughts on that. But yes, such a good chapter. Oh,
That is so good, Sal. I have to say, I'm so glad you said about the armor of God. This is how I love memories and just thinking about and connections and all of that. And the secretary at one of my elementary schools that I taught with did a devotion one morning, and she literally said every day she read through, every morning she read through that scripture passage and visualized herself putting on each piece of that armor, and just visualized herself putting on the breastplate, putting on just everything. And because I can't memorize, I don't have memorized. So, but, but just read through that, you just go to your, Bible app on your phone and write an armor of God and it'll pop up for you. So, if you don't know that, like me, which scripture it is, but if you literally visualize that, just think of what that could do to your day. And she said that has gotten her through a lot, and her family too had gone through a lot of stuff and continued to have a lot. And she was a woman of resilience for sure. But, I know it's because she armored up every day and always had that positive thinking and optimism at the forefront. So good.
I love that you mentioned that, because I too thought of putting on the full armor of God. And it just reminded me of last week we had Vacation Bible School, and I had my little 3-year-old grandson, which is such a blessing. And that was our theme, putting on the full armor of God. And they were in the grocery store the next week, and he saw something that reminded him of a shield. And he said, put on the full armor of God. And I just love that, because out of the mouth of babes, it reminds us to do the same, you know, because when he said that, mommy and daddy were like, first of all, I go, what is he saying? But then, you know, when they got it, it is such a good reminder. And I used to do that like every day. I pray before I got out of bed. Now I've kind of gotten out of the habit. So great reminder. I need to start doing that again.
That's awesome, Vicky.
I'm gonna
I
do the part where Sal was at, because that I love that section about what is resilience. And the woman who never accepts a challenge will never know how resilient she is. You have to go through some tough times and go for something to test your resilience. This whole section was it brought me back to just my journey with Plexus. And I remember when I think I was trying to hit Ruby or Senior Ruby, I don't remember which one, and I didn't hit it. And my response was not full of grace and peace. I'll just say that. And, you know, I pulled back. Sal was like, you know, it's all right. You got so close. You did great. She was so encouraging. I'm like, yeah, I think I'm just going to focus on activity and, you know, not really shoot for goals, because that's just what I'm going to be. I mean, I had this whole story built around that, which was false, but just did not handle it the best way. And then I think about like when I went forward from there too, like, okay, I hit Ruby, and then it took me a year to re-rank Ruby, right? And then it took a long time to hit Senior Ruby, and it took a year to re-rank Senior Ruby, right? Like all this stuff. But, and I talk about this a lot when I tell people about my journey, I'm so grateful for each part of that, because every time I was going through these times of like setbacks or whatever, it was building me. And even though I did not handle it well at that point in time, I do feel like as I continue to go through the tough parts of this journey, the resilience is built and it's handled in such a different way. But going through those things also enabled me to, at then one point in my business journey, go for Emerald, right? Because I had tested myself with prior challenges and adversity that allowed me to get to the point where I could go for something that was even bigger, that I never thought, you know, could really happen, you know. So I just want to encourage people, wherever you're at in your journey, like step into that tough challenge, because it's testing yourself and to see what you're capable of, because you're capable of far more than you ever think you are. And it's gradually building your resilience level to get to that really exciting high goal that you're going for. And along those lines too, when she talks about on 139, like having that sense of purpose and creating a vision that inspires and compels you to persevere, even when times are difficult. A weak vision doesn't inspire. So if you don't, at the root of everything, have this really just gut, I don't even know how to put it into words, but just this foundational, inspirational vision and goal and dream that just no matter what happens, you're taking that next step forward. If you don't have that, it's going to be easy to say, well, I'm just going to kind of shrink back from that. You know, I'm not strong enough to do that. I can't handle that. I wasn't built for that. I'm not like her. She can do things way different than I can. So get a strong, clear vision. I harp on that all the time because it really is a huge part of your journey and in your resilience too.
So good, Shelley. It's so good. The things that we learn through this, you know, and I love that you brought that up. Go for something. I mean, everything we do in this, we're going for something that we have probably never done before, you know, short of, you know, like me sharing about 31 bags on my Facebook wall, right? Like that's what I did 3 years before I did Plexus, and that fizzled out or whatever. But this, I went for this. Like, this is what I went for. But every stage along the way was scary. It was scary, but like, there was failure and there was no's and there was a lot of adversity. There was mean messages and family attacks and all kinds of crazy things, but when you push through and you have that vision and that this is what's going to get you to your goals and to your dreams, and you feel that in your deepest part of your being, then none of that stuff matters. That adversity makes no difference at all. And that's where you have to be. And you really do need to know and have that belief in this, in our company, our products, our business, our team, your vision, your goals, what you're trying to accomplish with this, who you're trying to reach, like all of it. And if you don't have any of that, if you're wavering in some of those things, and then it will be hard. It will, because those no's and those setbacks and whatever it'll be just like you said, Shelley, it'll be like, well, it's not a big deal anyway. It's okay. But it does matter when it matters, when it really matters to you. And then you keep pushing through. That's resilience.
Yeah, I love that too. On page 138, under the how prepared are you? It just kind of goes with all that you ladies have said too. Preparing for obstacles, because there's going to be ups and downs. It says success is never a straight line. As much as we want it to be, it's not, it won't be. And they just said, yeah, get a clear picture on your purpose and your mission, for what we're working for. Not only in this business, but for in life too, because there's going to be ups and downs, and, the resilient women are going to come out of it with a more positive mindset, and, they're focused on their main goals, not just the now. You got to look forward to what your dreams are and what you want out of this.
Yes, Lisa, absolutely.
So I really liked this part, and I'm just going to read it because it's pretty short, but it says, learn to love yourself before you attempt to love someone else. Love your neighbor as yourself doesn't amount to much if you don't love yourself. I laughed when I read that, because that is really true, and we're taught that to love your neighbor as yourself. But I think I'm really going to ponder this week, how am I showing up for myself? And I think that's really important. We're pouring into others all the time, especially as moms or wives or just leaders in general. We're pouring into everyone, but we have to pour into ourselves. And so anyway, I wanted to share that.
That is so true, Bree. Yeah, if you don't love yourself, and Janelle just flashed a book on her screen. That looks really, really good. Because that's so true. If you don't love yourself and respect yourself enough, to like know what's good for you. I mean, and that affects everything. That affects then who you surround yourself with, who you allow in, what you allow in. Because yeah, if you don't love yourself, and then that's gonna affect your relationships big time.
I just have to tell you one quick thing about this book. The reason I bought it was I connected with an old friend, and we don't talk very much, and we connected, and it had been a while since we connected before that. And I had found out, she was very open with me and shared that during the time that we had since talked, she and her husband had worked through and were thinking about getting divorced. And they did this book club at church, with just like private couples. And this changed his life so much that it changed their marriage. because it was through this book that he figured out that he did not love himself. And that's why he could not serve her well. Because the commandment, if you think about it in the Bible, is love your neighbor as yourself. So what does that imply? We have to love ourselves well to be able to love our neighbors well. And so I got this book. I'm not super far, maybe a third through it, but anyway, it was very powerful for them. The authors are Jerry and Denise Basel, Basel.
Oh, that is powerful. Thanks, Janelle.
Well, I have a confession. I didn't read this habit. I didn't read this chapter. In fact, I didn't even know what the topic was until you all started talking. It's been one of those weeks. But I just have to say that I'm just so blessed listening to this conversation. And I love how God works and meets us right where we're at, when we're least expecting it. And ironically, I talked about this without knowing I talked about this topic in one of my stories a couple days ago. I just was feeling like I woke up and I've been really trying to take a walk in the morning and just spend 15 minutes out in nature. And it's been a good time to connect with God by myself, and it's super peaceful. And then one morning I woke up and I'm like, my elbow is inflamed and it's sore. My knee is beyond inflamed and I don't really want to go for this walk. But I found that when I do go for my walk, I just feel more at peace about my day. And so that day I got back to the house and I just took a minute and I shared in my stories about pushing through the hard, pushing through the challenges, and how much better you can feel about yourself and what it does for your mindset when you do get beyond that challenge and that hard. So thank you for blessing me tonight, you guys. This has been an amazing book club for me and setting me off on the right path for the rest of the week.
I am so glad you still got on, Ange. For real. That's a big deal, honestly, to get on and then to actually talk. But and to admit that, that's what we do tell people. It doesn't matter if you read the book or not, just join, we all have weeks like that. So just love that you joined in, because this really is applicable, and our conversation is going to bless you no matter what. It's going to bless anybody, because it's always applicable to anything that's going on. Well, it's 9:05, you guys. I want to be respectful of you Eastern time zone people. It's only 9:05 here. It's 10:05 there. Sorry. But yeah, does anybody have anything else to share before we sign off? Such an amazing chapter. Oh,
I was
Go.
gonna can you hear me okay?
yes.
Okay. This is just real quick. I just thought it was interesting. I think it was on 142. It talked about your support system and resilience. And I kind of made that connection today. I had a worker here this morning. We were talking through a lot of hard foster stuff that's been going on. And she kind of talked about my support system. And she's like, well, you always seem to do so well, which I don't feel that way. But anyways, to them, it looks like that. She's like, you have a good support system. And then in this chapter, it talks about that connection between your support system and resilience and how it helps with that resilience. So I guess it just kind of struck me that, I think we try to do it, the best of our ability often with our customers anyway, to support people well, that's what we're doing. But it just kind of pulled out to me how important it is to support people in a variety of ways. And because I honestly never would have connected unless it had been pulled out like this, your support system and the resilience that you have of what you're going through. It really can make a big difference. And I don't know that I would have connected those dots otherwise, honestly. So I just thought that was kind of cool, and how important it is, that we are there for our customers, our family, anybody and everybody. our friends. So.
It is, it's key. It is for so much of life. And I think if you look at successful people who reach goals and do well in life, and but then you look at their surrounding, who surrounds them, you'll see that they have a tribe. They have supportive family or friends. If they don't have supportive family, they have supportive friends, and it's just, it makes a world of difference. So, and yeah, we have a great support system here. Amen, Lisa. So thankful. All right. Well, you friends, thanks for jumping on tonight. Great chapter, great book. Cannot go wrong. I'm like, yeah, it's just amazing. So can't wait till next week. Thanks for joining, everybody. Have an awesome night. See ya.